All right, welcome to the Jenkins Essentials open planning meeting. I think today's going to be fairly quick. Oh, now I'm hearing some echo on your side. Did your Bluetooth headphones die? East?
And so, for whatever reason, now it's my headset that got disconnected. Okay, we could look for some technical persons
It's
around.
it's always one of us.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and mute you until you reconnect that, so I at least don't hear an echo. So you'll need to unmute yourself when your headset's reconnected. So we won't have Mandy today. I believe she's on vacation, and I don't know if we'll see Oleg or Jesse. So it'll probably just be you and I. See, that's still echoey. Oh, there we go.
mm,
Now it's
now it
better.
should be.
Yeah.
So, for yeah. Anyway, let's just make with that. So I was looking at this just a few minutes ago, and so I'm going to start from the right to try and describe what's the current status. So the SSE gateway is basically something kind of blocked on the blue ocean side because it's something we adapted for the new feature in Jenkins that lets you put logs elsewhere than under Jenkins home slash logs. But I think Vivek is a bit worried that it would break something somewhere. So from what I understand with his last comment, I think he's kind of expecting us to, bump it using our setup or incrementals. So well, I didn't want to spend too much time incrementalifying SSE Gateway plugin because it didn't seem very priority. So right now we have a skipped test in our code base specifically to that case, which is not
Mhm.
great, but well, we have more pressing things in the plate. So that's kind of so well. If we want to move this forward, we will probably have to find some way to test SSE gateway ourselves or push by anyway that thing forward. Yeah. So for other things like so that's great because for the other, if you come back to the board about Jenkins 52,584, so the wrong availability zone in Essentials for AWS. So that's a good and a bad news because so I think I fixed this yesterday, just actually before Carlos reported it. But the very good news and nice thing is that actually somebody else than me played and actually provisioned something, provisioned the AWS flavor somewhere. And so Carlos
Somehow.
discovered that issue, which I ended up fixing like some hours before he reported it, but he provisioned it the day before, unfortunately. I actually had screwed up the place where a field should be, and it unfortunately is as it's a string and not a strongly typed thing. Um, it was correctly set by the config as code plugin, for the Jenkins configuration, but only would show up when you would try to provision explicitly a given new agent. So, and I discovered that, testing again, I think Tuesday or Monday morning, and the time spent I spent fixing it and making sure things worked. And Carlos was already testing, so unfortunate. But the rest worked fine. For instance, the S3 plugin that I tested on the Carlos instance was working fine, so that's great. Anyway, so it's deemed to be already fixed. And the third one is probably the most interesting those days, and it's in review because the PR is filed and it's currently building, I think. Yeah. And so that one is switching the code base from not fetch to using request promise, and I'm using a thin wrapper on top of this to which is called promise request retry, which basically integrates the retry kind of standard used a lot npm module to retry things with the request promise also kind of standard npm model to offer some higher and easier, nice way to retry things. So for now, I've used 3 retries, and I left the default behavior of the retry model as is, which means it's going to use an exponential back-off strategy, going to try first after 1 second, then 2 seconds, then 4 seconds. So we'll see if that proves enough, or if you want, to try maybe a bit more so that it goes beyond like 10 seconds or something. It could make sense. I don't know if you have any thinking about any opinion about that, but well.
I do, but I'll put things into the pull request.
Right. And so the other things in flight right now. So I've just filed the PR, but so basically it's still in progress because I'm waiting for the CI completion, but it's also in review for the AWS flavor test in CI. I thought I would do that later, but finally I did that pretty much earlier because right now there's already a PR filed by someone else than the core, I would say core team of Essentials, filed by Jesse, and it didn't have really easy ways to test these changes locally or in CI. So that's why I ended up doing that. Um, and that's mostly it. I need to get back then to the 2 other ones currently in progress. The SSH public key one is in an overlook from my side. I created AMIs manually, as I said, in the associated Jira's to go quicker for now, instead of using oh my god, how it's called, that tool to generate things, be it AMIs or VirtualBox. I know
Was
that
there not
tool from
any
HashiCorp.
Packer is what I think.
Right, Packer. That was the one I was looking for.
Packer's not going to be helpful here anyways. Um,
Right, because I
is
thought it
you
would be
you'd be in
able,
a
because I never
situation.
used. Right, good.
I don't think your headset's connected. Anyways,
Yeah,
sorry,
there
now
was
I've
an
lost my
issue.
train of thought. So I'm going to mute you so I can actually finish your sentence. Is there not an AMI that includes Docker that would be helpful, that's already supported and published in the AWS marketplace that we could use?
That's not impossible. I missed it, but I searched for it just a bit and didn't find anything obvious. So maybe in the marketplace, but I wasn't sure. It was better to use something from the marketplace, not really official, provided by someone, but not really more official than us, or by AWS itself, or by Docker, for instance. And I didn't find anything. So if we do, well, yes, it would be interesting. But anyway, I kind of suspect that then there will be Docker, but not Java, which is
Why do you need Java? No, I can't hear you. Your headset. There it is. So why is Java needed?
to connect an agent, Jenkins agent. You hear me?
Yes, I don't understand.
So how it's using under the hood when the EC2 Cloud plugin is provisioning an agent, it's a VM at the first stage, I would say. Then it's going to connect to that agent, to that VM, using the SSH connection. And then it's going to run to upload the remoting agent, and then it's going to run it to connect in the standard way through the SSH pipe. So an EC2 provisioned VM to be acting as an agent needs to have basically a GRE to be able to connect back to the Jenkins master. Does that clarify?
So the AMI that the Jenkins Essentials instance needs only requires Docker. An agent AMI can be something different, and that's what requires Java, correct?
I'm not sure I grokked the first sentence. Can you please rephrase?
So the instance that's running Jenkins Essentials
Yeah, the
is
master, right?
just going to be running a Docker container. All that needs is
Yes,
Docker.
absolutely.
However, the agent AMI that the EC2 plugin will provision, that requires Java.
Yeah, if you unclick exclude closed, you will, if you grab then for AMI dash, you will find both PRs, both JIRAs I did for both cases, which are actually two different AMIs.
So I
And
don't
I
understand.
think I
So you
screwed
mean
up both.
so I would be very surprised. Like I know on Azure, and that's where my experience is. Docker maintains a Docker on Ubuntu um, image in the marketplace, and
Hmm.
that sort of equivalent would make sense for the master. I would be really surprised if there's not a Linux container, or not a Linux container, excuse me, a Linux image in the AWS marketplace that just includes the latest OpenJDK or the latest Oracle JDK. I mean, there's
I wouldn't be surprised for one because Oracle is unlikely to, well, provide something like this because even the JDK itself has been problematic for years. So, well, right, you were saying OpenJDK, so it might be different. Okay, but then there might not be, but or there might, I will have another look, something containing both. So yeah, your point is about the master. So yeah, for the master, we could be able to use an official EMI. I agree. I was indeed still thinking about the agent one.
yeah, but we don't need to do both. Or like the AMI, we don't need to use this AMI for both, right?
This is not what I'm doing right now. There's two EMIs. It's what I'm saying.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah.
There are two
The
EMIs, and
so
I screwed up the
let's
same in the both.
let's step back from this for a second. It is
Yeah.
extremely important to me that we are not building an AMI that is getting baked into a CloudFormation template. We should be pulling something off of the marketplace because maintaining that base AMI is not work that I want to add to the Jenkins project.
Um,
Do you get what I mean?
I
Like
will.
you've made an
Yes. Yes.
AMI, and the next patch level for Ubuntu or Amazon Linux, that AMI is now going to be vulnerable and out of patch.
Hmm. Right. But well, yeah. But how would this work then? For agent, they would probably we will provide some way to update the EC2 configuration. And for the master, I guess it would be standard AWS update, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. And anyway, we don't want to be the one responsible for publishing the updated MI.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I will just reopen the two dedicated because I created something like create a dedicated AMI for master, create a dedicated AMI for the agent. So I'm going to just reopen both and add some comment in there to do it
Okay.
and to search more aggressively. And I think that's mostly it. And I was about to actually revive some hack I did some weekend, some like now it's going fast, but yeah, 2 months ago I think about Squid using Squid because the good thing about the PR that is in flight right now is that it's using request promise, and request promise has a nice feature which not fetch didn't that it should be respecting out of the box the standard environment variables, HTTP proxy, and so on. And I had already some hacking available on my machine that would locally start an Squid proxy so that we could hack and develop more quickly instead of
Okay.
waiting forever to download plugins and so on when we restart the whole thing. And right now I'm using a low bandwidth connection and it's very painful.
And that.
and it will
Okay.
be helpful for you in the bus.
Yes. Hacking on the bus would definitely be easier with a local proxy.
Yes,
So
and I think
the
that's
only
mostly it.
other thing that I was curious about is you've got a couple things around the auto configuration JEP stuff. I'm curious if you've
Yes.
had any time to start on that.
So this is the third one you see in progress, and
Mhm.
the JEP is already filed. And I think you commented on that one about the deletion. So right now it's not blocked per se. I need to just find a spend more time making sure I address every single comments when I actually think I did for some of those, but I didn't hear back. So I guess I just need to push to be slightly more pushy to actually get answers on the things that I deem addressed. I guess
Okay.
is that kind of clear? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the top left one,
Uh-huh.
which is I'm not really sure what I'm going to write for that one. Because for now it's getting mooter and mooter, I guess, for the 51877.
Yeah.
Yeah, for now it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense with with the experience we gather right now writing some kind of generic JEP about how we are going to do that specialization. But at the same time, it might be something we will be able to write about. And yeah, when Mendes will have completed the 51766, the safe flavor, because indeed we are going to have some way to pass from the client to the server the fact we are running a given flavor.
Mhm. All right. So
Did
the
you have any other question?
no, I don't. There's some thoughts that I have that I need to um, think more about before I ask questions. The stuff that Manny's been working on, and that's going to be in flight until next week, I believe. I think she's out this whole week. I had started on the migrations container. So the
Hmm.
plan, and I don't remember if we reviewed this at all, but the plan is that for the deployment in the Kubernetes environment, we're going to have a separate container that just runs the SQLize migrations and seed, and then we
We
can
did
run that
discuss
separate.
that.
Yeah. So I started
I
putting
think
that
you,
together. That's pretty
yeah,
simple. Um,
great.
and then assuming that we can get trusted CI, which is the Jenkins environment that's building containers, to properly run the evergreen tests, then we'll be able to get those containers published pretty quickly.
Seems like if you're referring to the fix you did some like 2 days ago or
It did
something,
not
seems like
fix.
it's working because, sorry, what?
It did not fix the issue. I think what may have fixed the issue is Olivier nuked all of the agents that were connected to that environment and allowed Jenkins to reprovision some.
Because I see that the backend and the evergreen image has been provisioned yesterday many times already. So it seems to have been working at least a few times.
Yeah, that's what Olivier did, not what I did.
Okay,
Unfortunately,
because I thought you were referring to like the issue that was like 1 week ago when
yeah,
everything
I
was
was,
stuck.
I was.
Yeah, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm saying that he was deploying until yesterday in the afternoon. So
Right, but what I'm saying is the issue of all of the agents being stuck in trusted CI. Olivier fixing that issue seems to have been what fixed the tests completing properly
right.
in our pipeline for trusted CI.
Okay.
Because I didn't change anything yesterday, but Olivier did.
I think you merged something, didn't you? I reviewed a PR from you. What about rewriting or refactoring some tests also?
Was that yesterday? I don't think that was yesterday.
I mean, maybe it was like
It is.
2 days before, but yeah, then it would possibly make sense because it was starting to deploy around like 2 days ago. So roughly, it could have kind of match. Anyway,
Maybe. Yeah.
And I don't
Um,
have access to trusted CI, so I'm really widely guessing.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, getting that environment configured for safe access control is very very difficult.
Yeah,
It's there's a lot of release keys in that environment. Um, so the once that migration container is running properly, then I'll be continuing on some of the Terraform that we need to provision the Azure Postgres SQL environment, and then it's a pretty straightforward Kubernetes configuration from there.
cool. Do you plan to actually end up doing the squashing we talked about a few times? About, the.
I've thought about it.
Mhm.
I don't think I care enough to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's going to be pretty time consuming, possibly. Yeah,
it takes 2 seconds to run all those migrations. It doesn't really matter.
right. It's just, but well, I mean, anyway, it will get messy again in the future, I suppose. But yeah, it's just right now a bit messy to actually figure the model of everything without actually dumping the database and have a look. I know that Mandy had to do that some days ago. And yes, looking at those different files, you have to mentally build that thing, that model from the DB model, or yes, dump the DB and have a look at what's currently
Yeah,
available.
I added a nice convenient make target for that.
Yep, exactly. And I think there was even something somewhere to actually log into the thing.
Oh yeah, that's in the README.
Yeah, right, that's it. I remember.
Um,
I used that once or twice.
plugin.
I
There's
don't.
a
I didn't. Go on.
there's a hack that I was doing on the weekends that I need to commit to make it easier to use um, Node and the
TypeScript.
Node modules directly from your shell while actually
Hmm.
going through the Docker container. I played around with that, so you don't have to say dot dot slash tools node do
Yeah.
this thing. Um, so I'm gonna wrap that up and get that submitted today. And I also spent some time poking around with TypeScript over the weekend.
Hmm.
For it actually works fairly well with feathers. I was kind of surprised. Someone already did the work about a year ago to make feathers and TypeScript work well together. Um, I talked a bit with Mandy about it last week when we were just chatting one on one, and I don't know how useful it would be right now um, for for where the project is, but I think for the models and for some of the services side of the world, I think some
Mm.
type checking could be useful. It
Yep.
looks fairly straightforward to incorporate. Maybe maybe when I'm awake some night with with uh, you know nothing to do but sit around and wait, I'll uh, I'll incorporate that. Um, yeah, then you'll be able to have your nice type checking again, which I know you crave.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of. Yeah. For whatever reason, in my career, I ended up doing mostly typed languages. Even C is more typed. Um,
Then JavaScript, yeah,
yeah, but yeah, having to run the thing to actually, and even jest, for instance, I mean, and when I'm running test, for instance, the code doesn't even is compiled, or it's not even runnable code, and
yeah.
just will run happily and say that test failed. Well, yeah, that test failed because the code isn't even correct. It's not, no, the code that the test that didn't fail, everything is just broken. And you should just, when I'm doing that in Java, I'm indeed used to, see that everything breaks before it actually reaches the
It
stage
runs the
where
test.
tests are run. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm kind of starting to feel more and more used to it. So it's nice.
Mhm.
Anyway, I guess that's not the place to discuss my ability to move forward with Node here.
um,
And I actually find my first open source PR against Node library today. So
wow, congratulations!
yeah, I know that's an achievement.
Yeah, you're officially a node hacker now.
Exactly. I already sent an email to my mom.
So, getting back on topic, assuming my meeting load this week actually looks a lot better than it did last week. So last week I was only able to get started on this ticket. Assuming the Azure provisioning with Terraform of the PostgreSQL database goes well, my fingers are crossed that everything just works the way that the documentation says. It should be straightforward to get this up and running. I might need some help from Olivier later in the week to make sure that the migrations container is running correctly. But yeah,
Cool.
it's right around the corner. Now there are these two tickets that Mandy had around getting some database consistency. I had asked her to try to get that incorporated before we go production. So even if I have evergreen.jenkins.io online by the end of this week, I think we'll still have to call that like alpha and be ready to blow away the database if we need to.
Right. Yeah, I guess it makes sense anyway. And I've been running. I will shut down evergreens.jenkins.io.batmat.net in Django, I guess. By the way, Jesse, you're here. I just saw that the PII file to test the AWS flavor just completed and is green.
Woo-woo.
That's great.
Doesn't the basic check doesn't run for me.
You mean locally? You already pulled in the PR? You mean?
No, I mean the basic check. The
Right.
non-AWS check doesn't run.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I commented on the PR, I think, saying indeed it was already failing before I filed this anyway. So. Because I think you're missing some dependency somewhere from the log.
No, I mean even after I fix the plugin issues, if you look in the pull request, even after I fix the plugin issues, the make target fail doesn't seem to have anything to do with the document.
I can have a look anyway. Second look. Did you comment there in the meantime? We were in the meeting. Okay, 12 minutes ago indeed. Okay, right.
Right. I guess you'll just merge 146, and then we'll see if my stuff runs on CI. But I don't seem to be able to run it locally. So.
And I probably will try your PR locally to see if I understand something. Okay.
Gotta go.
All right. I think we're wrapped up here. So I'll see y'all on Gitter.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.